Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, we hear plans for dedicated career tools, the IDRIS and its abilities, and all things tractor beams. We get to see the Shroud of the Avatar Crossbow, the latest on the Redeemer, and signed distance field shield tech on a javelin, plus we get to see the interior spaces for the colonial homesteads. So this week's Inside Star Citizen begun looking at the Esperia Talon. Now the Talon and Talon Strike, they say, are light fighters that prize agility over firepower and durability. The Talon has great guns but not great missiles, and the Shrike is the other way round. So design wise it looks lightweight, elegant and sleek, and it feels fast. The wings fold in and hunch back when in landed mode, and when the wings are open it reveals the feathers underneath. The landing gear tucks away and it gives it a hawk-like appearance, which does look pretty cool. Now to enter the ship, the canopy lifts and the chair comes forward out to the front. They say the dashboard looks like a series of framework, like a bird's nest following along with the Taveran aesthetic, like we've seen with the Prowler. And for 3.12, they don't have the full ejection mechanic implemented, but they have made it work to some degree for the time being. The whole cockpit will fire with you inside it for a short while, and then you are kind of kicked out into EVA. The Talon does introduce the iridescent shader, and this was to really help push the visuals of the ship. And now that they have this shimmering paint style shader, which does look incredible, it'll be another tool for future stuff. And I'm hoping we can actually apply a similar shader, maybe not the same, but to other ships, because I do like it. Now the Talon series increases the range of ships for the Taveran race and also offers more choice in the light fighter category, plus it provides a huge visual difference which is very important to CIG. Personally, although I'm not actually interested in owning many alien ships, I do think the Talon series look phenomenal, and CIG have once again knocked it out of the park in sheer design and engineering. So next up is the last sprint report for this year, and it kicked off looking at the Bearing FS9 LMG, which is coming in 3.12. They're still tweaking this weapon, but it will have a smaller, more realistic muzzle flash, which is ideal for spraying and not obstructing the view too much. The Gemini AO3 sniper rifle is currently the smallest caliber rifle in 3.12. It is still getting balanced and fine-tuned as well, but both weapons do look great. In particular, I'm loving the look of the sniper rifle, the Gemini rifle. I think that'll be a nice compact rifle for taking around and doing some stealthy missions with. The weapons concept team completed a pass on the Shroud of the Avatar promotional crossbow. This will be made by a new manufacturer called Ultiflex, and it is a low IR and low EM stealth weapon, which has a slick carbon fiber look and really cool bolts that are loaded from cartridges underneath. Now it is said that the smart ammo arrows expand as they are chambered, and they're not really sure what damage or effect they will create when fired yet, but they will keep up with its production along the way. Now this is a really cool weapon, and it just makes me wish I'd backed Shroud of the Avatar when I first saw this. Hopefully there'll be a way of attaining it some way. So from here, they took a look at the Gladius as it gets set up with a component pass, so getting ready for physicalized components. Now these components, they said, need to be accessible for players and usable by the AI deck crews in Squadron 42, and it is slowly coming together. It's going to be a great day when all ships have all of their components physically inside and working as intended. I'm very much looking forward to that day. We had a quick look at the Redeemer as it progresses through White Box. It's using a modular system similar to the Vanguard series, and you can see the living areas and remote turret stations are coming along. After that, we got to see a work in progress look at the signed distance field shield tech, or SDF, which is currently in development. What we see here is a test mock-up with temporary damage values and colours for demo purposes. Now large ship shields will be very powerful, so they want to make sure that players can tell that they're doing damage, or if they're not doing damage. This test shows an easily readable wear effect that players could cause across the ships. They also tried using different patterns like this hexagon pattern, which I thought looked pretty neat, and I'd love to see maybe different styles or patterns like this based on the manufacturer of the shield that you're buying. Jared did say that the javelin and everything we see here is still heavily work in progress and not final, so colours, damage modifiers and all the effects will be tuned as they continue to develop it, but it's coming along really well. Now the environment team are finishing up a series of daily passes for many of the assets found across Stanton's planets and moons. These are part of an ongoing effort to bring the areas in line with new technologies as they get developed. These include things like the new organic shaders, height map improvements, the updated ground textures which use scanned elements, a newly updated geology library, and much more. I will say that the planets and moons in 3.12 that have received these updates do look night and day better. The textures are so different and much higher quality, so I'm looking forward to the whole of Stanton getting these updates. So the Planet team have been working on developing ocean buoyancy on a per entity basis and generating the rule set for creating procedurally placed items like derelicts and more across ocean surfaces. They said this would likely bring more in terms of advanced traversal for the recovery of resources or mission items, submerged exploration, and more. The shader work, he says, is heavily work in progress, but I am very excited to hear about the placing of derelicts or points of interest on and under the bodies of water for us to find and explore, kind of Subnautica style. That sounds like it'll be a great addition. So we also got to see a work in progress of touch bending. This is to provide a more realistic experience when traveling through areas with plant life. Some of the ways they want to improve further is to get a more realistic bend rather than a crumple, plus a slower return to upright. They say this will make it more possible to visually track players or creatures as they make their way through the tall grass. Also, they said that they need to create an effective way to apply the various level of detail versions for an MMO, which needs to work for those hiding basically in long grass at distance. So this will be adding a lot more to stealth gameplay, and tracking animals and creatures as they move around planetside will be so much fun. I'm happy to hear in regards to hiding in foliage at distance is being thought about. We don't want people to have the option to lower their graphical settings so bushes at a distance disappear, revealing people hiding in them. That just obviously won't work for an MMO, and I'd like to see how they get around this. So finally, we got to see more on the colonial homesteads found throughout the verse. They showed us an internal white box layout for a communal module. They said it could be used as a habitation module, a kitchen, a bar, an activities hall. And because these homesteads are meant for the far reaches of the frontier, places like Pyro, they are exploring things like storm shutters to protect against storms outside. They're also creating vertical traversal options to allow players to get to where they want to go for gameplay opportunities. And right now these homesteads are just in exploration phase, and although they've not fully entered production yet, they are full of potential in what they can add to the Star Citizen experience. Now these homesteads are really coming along fast, and as they say, they're just exploring potential ways to create them, but I cannot wait until we can build a homestead wherever we want to around the verse, or just finding some settlements dotted around offering missions or unique items to buy. And it's really going to be insane having a storm rolling in and having to sort of put the shutters down and just ride it out. I love the direction they're going with homesteads. Anyway, that was an incredible episode of Inside Star Citizen. The crossbow is looking very cool, and it's great to see the current state of signed distance field shields. Hopefully we're not waiting too long until they roll them out to all the ships. But with that said, let us move on. So this week's Star Citizen Live was talking about all things Alpha 3.12. The first question was, can you tell us more about reputations? And the answer was, all mission givers except for Ruto has reputations tied into them. So you can lose favour with mission givers and then no longer be offered missions for a 24-hour period. And these are mostly geared towards the bounty hunting missions and those guilds. Higher reputation grants you harder missions as well as higher pay. They did say it's just a starting point and they will build on it from here. Next question, can we hide in gas clouds? Now they say for 3.12 no, but they are actively working on a rebalance for cross-section, EM and IR signatures and ambient signatures as well, and this will be implemented into all the ships, the gas clouds, space stations, the sun, the planets and moons, and then at that point, depending on where you are in that gas cloud, you could be shielded by them. Places like gas clouds will help you to mask your signatures, but they don't want you to hide completely. For FPS and ships, you'll be able to tweak your different systems to lower your emissions and then see them dampen in real time as you enter areas like gas clouds. This means that you can have smaller ships all within the signature shadow of, say, a capital ship. Now, all of this stuff is working now and will come in an update in the near term. The next question is, have you found a cause of not being able to restock, rearm or refuel? Now they say they have and they are working to fix this. The plan is to get the fix in for 3.12, but they can't guarantee it will make it. So fingers are crossed there. Next question, can other people or party members pick up the refined ore that you have placed into the refinery? And no, at the moment it is only you, but that will change going forwards. What's the current maximum range that you can shoot a target at in 3.12? And they say right now, the maximum is approximately 1500 meters. The scopes do allow you to range up to 2000 meters, but 1500 is reliable. It has a lot to do with how things are culled from the game at distances and whether you're coming and going, but they are looking in a way to improve this in the future, which is good to hear. Next question is, will refineries be able to store products from multiple jobs? And they say yes, they can. You can pick up one or all of your refined goods, and those that you leave behind will remain there until you want to grab them. Is there a fix for party nameplates not showing? Now for 3.12 they say no. The team are working on other bugs that are more priority, as well as the star map rework, so very excited to hear that that is underway. Doesn't sound like it's coming for 3.12, but it can't be too far away. They did say that they have converted the party nameplates into the building block system, which will integrate them into the radar and scanning function, so we will have a more unified UI, which is coming in a later patch, and this will likely stop the bug if they don't get to it beforehand. I will say though that there was a fix in one of the 3.12 Evocati patch notes for party nameplates, so hopefully they have been improved, if not fixed at the least. Next question, why did you rename the chaff and flares? Now they say the real world equivalent of chaff and flare does not represent what Star Citizen's version is or does. Decoy and noise field is more in line with what they accurately do. They also want to ensure that people understand it within the Star Citizen universe, and so making it less confusing. Star Citizen's terminology will be its own thing, and they want to keep it consistent throughout. Next question, will the IDRIS's size 10 railgun function in 3.12? And they say yes, and the AI will prioritize certain targets. Now it won't be targeting smaller ships, as that's not what this railgun is for, so likely only used against larger ships. There is actually going to be lawful and unlawful ways into spawning the IDRIS. Unlawfully is via the space station defences being the last line of defence, but Jared did mention that the Arlington gang have one, as well as the Xeno threat, I believe. So for lawful players to take on, you will be able to take on those pirates, so whether you're good or bad, you get to fight the IDRIS. Now I will say, I expect getting the IDRIS into the PU and controlled by the AI is most likely big testing for Squadron 42, so the more that we pummel it, the more information they can get and the better the ship will be in the long run. Next question is, how do missions change with the new reputation system? Now they say missions haven't changed too much as such, which is a shame. They are just getting the reputation system hooked up. Reputation will have a strong factor into player progression, and being able to obtain bigger, better things or unlock more unique items that you can earn from growing in reputation is something that they do want to begin introducing. Maybe not so much for 3.12, but going forwards. And I really love the idea of being given a unique item for completing something with a mission giver, only attainable via that process. I like that idea. A bit like what we saw with those Halloween masks. Next question is there anything else planned for gas clouds? So they did say gas mining is one thing they will look into in the future. They'll also add more danger to clouds, like electricity or distortion damage. Maybe it could knock out your ship, or even kill a player if you're EVAing, as the temperatures can vary greatly from cloud to cloud. They will create smaller clouds as well for various reasons, and they did say that many of the jump points will be found within gas clouds, kind of similar I guess to what we saw with the Pyro jump point. Someone asked if we can board the IDRIS in 3.12, and they say no, it doesn't have the interior, it is just the exterior of the ship and the AI. Will all Lagrange points have gas clouds? And in 3.12 they do, but they may change that in the future. This is, again, the first implementation, and more will come, and they will change them up as and where needed. So I think they look fantastic at the moment, but should they be around every Lagrange point? I don't know. How often will we see the IDRIS was the next question, and it's all dependable on the crime level. A new one will come if the old one gets destroyed, provided the crime level dictates it, and this is to do with the heat system around a space station based on the crime levels or the crime style of each player, how many players and what ships they're bringing, I believe. Next question, what have you done to make the IDRIS more capable? Now I would suggest firstly looking at the roadmap if you want to know, because there's a lot of things on there for capship and AI behaviours. but they've also done a lot of tuning of the railgun, its shields and armor. They've done lots of tuning for the AI, how the ship moves or how they move the ship, how they prioritize ships and threats, and how they keep tactical distances from their target. Also, the improvements to missiles and torpedoes coming in 3.12 will play a big part of this, and the IDRIS is capable of shooting down incoming torpedoes. Next question, quite an important one. Will there be a wipe with 3.12 or even later on? And they said with every patch that they release, they do discuss whether a wipe is needed. Now, they've not yet decided for 3.12, but there will certainly be another wipe in the future at some point between now and the release, and more likely more than a few of them before release. But they are gathering some great information and testing things as they are not wiping with every patch. However, it is a patch by patch case. So the last few questions are to do with the multi-tool tractor beam. The first one being, can we steal cargo from other ships using the tractor beam and then sell that cargo? So they say yes and no. Now, the cargo that you buy when you are using a trading console that you see in your cargo hold is not physicalized. This cannot be interacted with or moved. Now, they are doing a cargo refactor, and eventually all cargo will be physicalized. I assume that's coming around the time of the iCache implementation, but not for 3.12. However, if you do destroy a ship with cargo in it, it'll spawn those boxes in space so you can steal them. So the cargo will be stealable so long as you don't blow it up when you blow up the ship, and then once it's in your cargo hold, you can then go and sell that. Can we use the tractor beam to flip ground vehicles? Now, they said not the pyro multi-tool that we're getting in 3.12, as this can only lift up to 250 kilos. Eventually, you will be able to use multiple tractor beams to lift more weight and have it stack, but likely there will be some diminishing returns, and of course each planet and moon will have its own gravity that will play its part into how much and how that weight is affected. Now, eventually there will be other tractor beams like ship tractor beams that will be able to apply more force. But on another note, something that I was very happy to hear him talk about was that they will be creating more dedicated tools for all areas of the game. So be that mining, salvaging, more tractor beams and so on. A dedicated tractor beam, for example, will be better than the multi-tool. The multi-tool is designed to be a tool for all trades, but only really as an entry tool rather than a specialist tool. Now, that's pretty exciting to hear, being able to purchase a whole range of dedicated tools that will help you do the job that you want to do in various ways. So if you decide that you want to go out mining, you can grab a dedicated mining tool or set of tools which will be better in functionality than just the pyro multi-tool, and then go about your business. I really, really love that. Something else they mentioned that was interesting was to do with the amount of decorative items found within the game world. Things that you see on the tables and so on that are not physicalized and we can interact with them. Basically, if a grenade went off close by, they wouldn't move. Now, they are going through all of the items found within the game world and making them physicalized so that you will be able to interact with them via a tractor beam, picking them up, storing them, inspecting them, placing them in your habitation rooms or your homes and your ships. And I think this is also underpinned by iCache, but it's great to hear that's being worked on. Next question, does the tractor beam make push and pull irrelevant? So he says absolutely not. They want to offer players a lot of choice on how to approach everything in the game. The multi-tool will eventually have a limited battery supply, and if you have been using the tool for mining and you're running out of battery, or you haven't brought the tractor beam attachment at all due to maybe inventory constraints, you'll need to be able to move around when there is no gravity. Tractor beams, push and pull, and even your EVA jets, which will eventually become a separate attachment for your suits and have finite fuel, will be three options that you'll have for navigating in 0G. Push and pull, being the least technically advanced, means that everyone will be able to move around in 0G provided you have something to grab hold of. Obviously, if you want to move around faster, ensure that you have the tractor beam tool and enough battery with you, but offering all this choice is definitely something that Star Citizen does really well. So some other points regarding the tractor beam. Boxes in-game will make sense weight-wise to their contents. So for example, a box of gold will be very heavy, and you probably won't be able to pick it up with a tractor beam unless it is able to at that weight. They also said they will bring an animation which is kind of like a pick-up fail, so if you attempt to pick something up that's too heavy for your character to do so, he will sort of show straining and then drop it down again. Now, you can actually catch physical items like a grenade, or even a pico or a weapon. Basically anything physicalized can be caught or moved with a tractor beam, so even if it's thrown at you. And finally, you can't fire them at players in 3.12, but you can lift dead bodies with them. Long term, they do want players to use the tractor beam to tractor players in some way, but they will have to find ways to prevent trolling. Anyway, that was it for Star Citizen Live. Some great information to be heard there, and all of these features coming into 3.12 are pretty significant, maybe not so much for 3.12, but for the future to iterate on, it's a great step in the right direction, and I'm getting very excited seeing it all come together. Anyway, let's move on. So also this week, CIG have partnered with Tobii Eye Tracker with the 4C and the latest release, the Tobii Eye Tracker 5, being fully supported in 3.12. Now this is for head tracking specifically. It does not work with the FOIP or the Face over IP tech. You still need to use your webcam for that. But it is used to accurately track your head movement, allowing you to move your head while in your cockpit or during FPS. Also, you get 10% off the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 if you use CIG's link, which is offered until the 8th of January. Now it is quite a bit more expensive compared to the alternatives, so it'll be very interesting to see just how effective this tracker is, and I wonder if it will offer that one-for-one head tracking, which the current in-game system of using your webcam does not offer that. To get the one-for-one tracking, you need something like TrackHat, which is what I use, or Track IR, so we will see. But either way, I'm happy to see other companies joining forces with CIG, like we've seen with Intel and AMD in the past. Let me know if you've picked one up and what you think about it. I am intrigued. We also had a new Observist lifestyle post taking a look at the G-Lock bar found in ArcCorp's Area 18. The RSI Perseus has its Q&A, which I will cover in a dedicated video when I take a look at that ship properly. And finally, there was no roadmap update on my YouTube channel this week, as it now shows all of 3.12 features in polishing, which doesn't really warrant its own video, but I do believe we will be getting the new roadmap this Friday, which will be very exciting. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.